Welcome to the Creepin' It Real show, your one-stop shop for weird news, spooky, otherworldly, and paranormal shenanigans. We'll take a dive into what's going on in creepy pop culture. You can follow us on Twitter at creepin_it and like us on Facebook at the Creepin' It Real show. Do you have a paranormal story you'd like to share with us? You can email us at creepinitrealshow@gmail.com.
Hello, everyone. Happy holidays, and welcome to the Creepin' It Real show. I am this week's host, Christy, and joining me is both hosts. I am very thrilled, Moni and SoCal. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, all things considered, with 2020. We're almost done, and it can only hurt us so much. I'm not going to tempt fate in the next couple of weeks, week and a half, but just skating out the last couple days of work before I actually get some much-needed time off to sit at home and do nothing in a pandemic, which sounds amazing, though, as far as the sitting at home. So
I completely understand. Usually during the holidays, we decided as parents to forego gifts and take the kids on trips, which we had done the last 3 years, but this year, of course, is not happening. So we're back stuck at home. Well, I mean, we could have gone somewhere, but we just decided that it's probably not a good idea. So we're staying home.
Are you paying back in presents? Like, are you having to do Mondo presents for not
Honestly,
doing a trip?
No, we didn't do that. And in fact, we've told both of them, and we're being 100% honest. We decided not to go put anything on credit this year. And we've stayed to it because usually my husband gets a really, really big bonus in March every year, and we're usually having to pay off debt with the bonus. Mm-hmm. And this year, we've said this for the last 5 years, but this year we actually stuck to it where we are not going to go in debt. And then because we know this big bonus is coming and pay it all off. And so even with Christmas, I said, we're sticking to this. And, you know, we did a huge blowout for my daughter's 18th birthday at the beginning of December. And that was, so I'm like, girl, you're not going to get a lot of shit for Christmas. Sure. Sorry. And I hate saying that because my birthday's close to Christmas too. And I always got the mix of the Christmas, this is your birthday and Christmas present. Yep. And I'm like, listen, if this was my birthday was in July, would you give me a birthday present and go, this is for your birthday and Christmas? No, you wouldn't fucking do that. So why would you do that in November? But she got a huge gift and a huge birthday party. And this is the first time that I'm like, yeah, sorry, you're going to have to.
Like, I think she'll be doing okay.
You'll be fine. She never complains. She never asks for anything. She's fine. She's not crying herself to sleep at night or anything. But, you know, we're just going to play some games and watch some movies and chill out. I officially, as of today, am off the clock, and I'm super excited. One of the awesome benefits of my company is that we get almost 2 weeks off at the end of the year paid. And it doesn't count as your vacation or anything. That's just, it goes towards thank you for all that you do. You work hard. You're away from your families, mostly not during pandemic time, but in our normal working circumstance, you travel, and we understand that. And this is to make up for that. So with that, Yardley, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. I can't complain. I'm just ready to run the clock out on 2020 like everybody else.
Well, I hope we are all aware that it's not like a magic wand, and we're probably still going to have some shit going on in 2021. I know. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm also like, oh, God, I'm afraid to have hope. So I am going to be cautiously optimistic. If you're listening from Georgia, for the love of God, go vote. Like, I beg of you, do not sit this one out. Vote like your life depends on it. I don't care what political leanings you are on. Vote. Exercise that right. It's what your right is. It's literally why we live in the United States. Go vote. So this is an incredibly important election. So don't waste it. And with that, exactly. And with that, before we talk about the main event, which is the most terrifying Christmas traditions around the world, which I should put on the side note that aren't Krampus, because we all know Krampus is a terrifying holiday tradition and has become a huge talking point during Christmas. But actually, I looked and there are a lot more. So I thought we would introduce some new ones. But even more terrifying is when you're on social media and you always want to be recognized and noticed, but little did we know that ours would be from a butthole. Now, Moni, would you like to elaborate on that? By all means, honey, elaborate.
We are famous for a butthole, as Christy mentioned.
Mhm.
I randomly, actually, I'll give credit. I was in a horror group. I'm in a couple horror groups. I'm not really sure. Maybe been Horror Addict fans or something like that on Facebook. And they're like, hey, there's this movie that came out that's about a woman who has a mouth, a butthole for a mouth. It's just, and I hate that it's performing so well too, because it means that I have to like go back and look at the post, and you can't unsee this butthole
It's
mouth.
awful. And it means I have to watch it.
The movie, I'm going to have to hate watch. You're going to have to get drunk and watch it, right?
Mhm.
So the movie is called Skins, and it's kind of sad, but like deformed, disfigured characters must find a way to deal with society shunning their differences in this darkly comic social drama. And like right there on the first, like on, their image for it, their marketing image is a woman, not only with a butthole for a mouth, but it's got the hair pattern. I mean, it's supposed to be a female, but it's got the hair pattern, of a butthole, and the chin, has a crack in it, what we would call a butt chin, except for it's actually made to look like an ass on her face, and it's something.
It's effective. Apparently very effective.
Yeah, we've had 272 shares, 82 comments, and almost 20. Yeah, we're over 28,000 now. People have been reached through our butthole.
Like, I was hoping that would be like one of our podcast episodes, but apparently a woman with a fake movie woman with a butthole mouth is more effective. So noted.
I don't want to know what y'all are thinking about. Like, are you doing this to laugh at it, or are you like, is this a fetish that exists where like, hey, two birds, one stone?
Ew. Ew, Moni, you had to go there. That's gross.
I'm looking at the puckering, and it's just she's just right for the. Anyway,
I'll have to show that. I'll have to show that to the one person that I know can take that to a level that's even worse than yours, and he lives under my roof. So I will get back to you on what his comments are about this, because he just takes something and just takes it to a level that you're just like, oh God, I'm gonna die now. So yeah. So I don't know, Yardley, if you've seen the butthole mouth lady on our Facebook page, but she apparently made us famous. So thanks, Moni.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Putting y'all on the map. You're welcome.
It's the holidays. It's a pandemic. I'm not surprised. I mean, anything goes, right?
Hey, I'm looking at the picture of this first creature that we're going to talk about for Terrifying Christmas, and I'm saying that her face could benefit from a butthole in the middle of it.
I agree. She's pretty scary.
She's pretty scary.
So,
you ready for me?
Almost. So, like I said, yes, we all know and love Krampus. My sister for my birthday, which was last month, and yes, I'm old, sent me an awesome, one of those character little things that look almost like bobbleheads. She sent me a Krampus one. She was like, "You're the only other person I know that would love this." And I was like, "Oh my God, thank you." And he's got little fangs and he almost looks like a little werewolf. He's really cute. So thank you, Jackie, for my awesome gift. And it kind of helped inspire me to think of because I was having a really hard time thinking of a topic that was rotating around Christmas that we hadn't already talked about. And we talked about horrible, nasty deaths over Christmas. We talked about Krampus, but we didn't dive into the other Christmas traditions around the world that are possibly, if not more, equally scary. And some of those are under the guise of zombies. Some of them are cross-dressers. Shockingly, we're going to find out there's some really interesting, horrifying, scary traditions that cross-dressing is not scary and completely acceptable, but when you're doing it under the way that this person is, it is a little terrifying. So with that, Moni, let's talk about Fra. She is not the cross-dresser, but if you look up this lady, yes, she is horrifying and probably the scariest one on this list.
Nice. Let's start off with a bang. So, Frau Perchta in Austria and Bavaria. Frau Perchta is a witch who comes to see who has been naughty or nice. She slits the bellies of bad children and stuffs their corpses with a straw. With straw, not a straw. Jesus Christ. It's sort of like Santa bringing coal, but with disembowelment instead. In some descriptions, Perchta has two forms. She may appear either as beautiful and white as snow, like her name, or with a butthole in the middle of her face, elderly and haggard. In many old descriptions, Perchta had one large foot, sometimes called a goose foot or a swan foot. Grimm thought the strange foot symbolized her being a higher being who could shapeshift to animal form. He noticed that Bertha with a strange foot exists in many languages. In the Tyrol, she appears as a little old woman with a very wrinkled face, bright, lively eyes, and a long hooked nose. Her hair is disheveled, her garments tattered and torn. Initially, Perchta was the upholder of cultural taboos, such as prohibition against spinning on the holidays. Spinning, I don't think they mean records.
So sorry. So spinning is back in the day is not, no, you're not a DJ. You are spinning wool for yarn. And apparently,
like some Rumpelstiltskin shit, right?
So like they wanted to punish you if you were an overspinner, like be an overachiever, and this bitch will come see you. Like, what the hell's wrong with that? Like, I'm trying to make money for my family. Yeah.
Well, in the folklore of Bavaria and Austria, Perchta was said to roam the countryside at midwinter and to enter homes during the 12 days between Christmas and Epiphany, especially on the 12th night. She would know whether the children and young servants of the household had behaved well and worked hard all year. If they had, they might find a small silver coin the next day in a shoe or a pail. If they had not, she would split their bellies open. I feel like there should be some middle ground here.
Right?
Remove their stomach and guts and stuff the hole with straw and pebbles. She was particularly concerned to see that girls had spun the whole of their allotted portion of flax or wool during the year. She would slit people's bellies open and stuff them with straw if they ate something on the night of her feast day, other than the traditional meal of fish and gruel. So no snacking, y'all.
So what the hell with you have to eat gruel? Gruel to me is just gross food. Like what I just thought, oh, you have to eat fish and gross food? Gruel is what? What's gruel?
It sounds very grueling if you ask me.
And she's going to come visit you if you don't eat good food on Christmas? The fuck?
I know, right?
We'd all be fucked. In contemporary culture, Perchta is portrayed as a rewarder of the generous and punisher of the bad, particularly lying children. I'm so bringing my kids in here to hear this. Today in Austria, particularly Salzburg, where she is said to wander through Hoslanberg Castle. Yeah, that's my final answer.
Yeah.
In the dead of night, the Perchten are still a traditional part of holidays and festivals, such as Carnival Fastnacht. The wooden animal masks made for the festivals are today called Perchten.
So that's the old lady, Frau Perchta. She is a scary, scary woman. So if you decide to Google her, just prepare yourself. She's freaking crazy. But you know what's even crazier is horse skulls, Yardley.
All right, let's talk about Mary Louise in Wales. Imagine it's New Year's Eve. You're a small Welsh child. You hear a knock on the door. You open it. Looming over you is a creature with a horse's skull, wearing a long billowed cloak and trailed by people chanting. In the horse's eye cavities are fake eyeballs, its mouth slightly ajar. You are paralyzed in terror. As you wet yourself in fear, adults around you wish each other a Happy New Year. The tradition entails the use of eponymous hobby horse, which is made from a horse's skull mounted on a pole and carried by an individual hidden under a sackcloth. It represents a regional variation of a hooded animal, tradition that appears throughout Great Britain. The custom was first recorded in 1800, with subsequent accounts of it being produced into the early 20th century. According to these, the Merry Lude was a tradition performed at Christmas time by groups of men who were accompanied the horse on its travels around the local area. And although the makeup of such groups varied, they typically included an individual to carry the horse, a leader, and individuals dressed as stock characters such as Punch and Judy.
So really quick, before you get any further, I did not know what stock characters such as Punch and Judy is. I included a picture for you guys for reference, but I want to explain to the audience who's listening. When you think of puppets, which stock characters apparently is puppets, in English, like back in the olden days, when you think about that weird, like elaborately decorated stage and those two puppets that are standing there, they're like the typical weird string puppets that they're apparently have a name, and I did not know that. So those puppets that you see all over England and the UK are called Punch and Judy. So you literally, all you have to do is think about a string puppet, and you will, I think their image comes to mind. I could be wrong, but for me it did. When I saw them, I was like, oh my God, yeah, that's, because I was like, what the fuck is a Punch and Judy? I didn't know it was a puppet. So then when I looked it up, I was like, I know who that is. So just FYI, think of European, those string puppets on the stage. And when you think of that, I immediately pictured it. So I could be wrong, though. I hope I described it okay.
I think that didn't Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood have those puppets on it?
Yes,
those
similar.
Are puppets that you're talking about, something like that.
Similar. Yeah. He had like a king and a queen and stuff, but they're similar. These have actually like legs, but it's very close to Punch and Judy. Yeah, so it's kind of picture. Yeah, if you can't picture the UK version, yes, I think the Mr. Roger version is very close.
Okay, so the men would carry the Mary Lou to local houses where they would request entry through the medium of song. The householders would be expected to deny them entry, again through song, and the two sides would continue their responses to one another in this manner. If the householders eventually relented, the team would be permitted entry and given food and drink. There's a unique example in historical stories in which the head was kept buried throughout the year, only to be dug up for use during the Christmas season.
Sorry.
The custom.
I'm just picturing somebody, woo, it's time to dig up the horse skull.
Or even having to, like, you're basically battling with the homeowner in song to try to get some grub and some beer.
Dressed as like basically a hobby horse, with the end of the hobby horse being a horse skull. Hello, let me in. No, you can't come in. Please let me in. No. Okay, come in, horse skull.
And this thing, I don't even know how long they would go because you were probably already drinking, so that's probably going to get out of hand.
I'd be like, they'd be like, let me in. I'd be like, okay.
So the custom used to begin at dusk and often lasted into the night. The Mary Lou party consisted of 4 to 7 men who often had colored ribbons and rosettes attached to their clothes and sometimes wore a broad sash around the waist. There was usually a smartly dressed leader who carried a staff, stick, or whip, and sometimes other stock characters such as the Merrymen, who played music, and Punch and Judy, both played by men, with blackened faces, often brightly dressed. Punch carried a long metal fire iron, and Judy had a broom. So they running around with a broom wearing blackface.
Yeah.
Shucking and jiving around this goddamn...
There's another one later with blackface, too. I was like, why does everybody have blackface?
The Mary Lou party would approach a house and sing a song in which they requested admittance. The inhabitants of the house would then offer excuses for why the team could not enter. The party would sing a second verse, and the debate between the two sides, known as the Puenco, would continue until the house's inhabitants ran out of ideas, at which time they were obliged to allow the party entry and to provide them with ale and food. Once inside, the entertainment continued with the Mary Lou running around, neighing and snapping its jaws, creating havoc, frightening children, and perhaps even some adults, while the leader pretended to try to restrain it. The Merrymen played music and entertained the householders. Historians struggle with the tracking down of how this tradition came about, although there were many suggestions it came from the Welsh folklore or even an ancient All Hallows Eve tradition moved to represent the new year. and new life.
So if you think about this, and you think about how we're always like, hey, kids, don't let any strangers in the house. And then one shows up like a horse skull and 7 men in blackface, and you're like, no. And then they're like, yes. And then you're like, no. And they're like, yes. And you're like, okay. Like,
I mean, that's a sketch
Why
that
not?
wrote itself. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's hysterical. Like, I was laughing while I was reading about this one because I was like, we tell our children to say no to the strangers, but then they just supposed to come in with a skeleton. Okay. The next one that we have is Gryla and the Yule Cat in Iceland, which is she's pretty badass if you ask me. Because Gryla is a giant ogre who lives in a cave. During Christmas, she emerges to hunt for children, which she kidnaps, takes to her cave, and cooks in a vat of stew. Which, I'm sorry, but I don't think children would taste very good. If I'm like a nice, beefy man, I don't want no kid. Like little bones. Like, no.
None of the above.
I have pictured kids having like chicken bones that like get caught in your throat and shit. Moving on. Gryla, not like I've spent a lot of time thinking about it, but when I was making this episode and I was like, really? You want kids? I guess if you think about if you like veal, it could be comparable. Anyway, probably spent way too much time thinking about it. But moving on. Gryla has a variety of companions, including the Yule lads, her 13 unruly troll children. There are large adult sons. And then oh boy, and I'm so sorry, Iceland, the Jolakataran. Jolakataran, or the Yule Cat. We'll just say Yule Cat. Did you think that the Yule Cat sits on your lap as you open gifts, playing with the wrapping paper and contributing to the overall atmosphere of cozy Christmas? No, it does not. The Yule Cat is terrifying. Like Satan walking among us like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour, the massive Yule Cat lopes through the town in the dark, peering into the lighted windows of children's bedrooms. The only way to save yourself from being eaten is to show him that you got clothes for Christmas because you were good this year. Can you imagine that's how you prove you were good, as if you got clothes? I would love that rule. Right? If you didn't get any new clothes, you leave out old clothes and hope to God they meet his standards. Yes. So basically, I'm picturing a cat that looks like Will Ferrell in that SNL skit where he works for the clothing store with that little mini phone where he's riding like the scooter and he's like, hi, we're supposed to get a Dolce & Gabbana. So they have to meet his standards, basically.
Of fabulosity.
Yes.
I want him to come in like Tim Gunn and be like, make it work.
Exactly. So basically he's the Tim Gunn of cats. Icelandic Christmas, and they do this, I guess, because they needed people to make clothes. So they were trying to scare them into it because people need clothes. But Icelandic Christmas folklore depicts mountain-dwelling characters and monsters who come to town during Christmas. The stories are directed at children and are used to scare them into good behavior. The folklore includes both mischievous pranksters who leave gifts during the night and the monsters who eat disobedient children. Which I believe the pranksters are the sons and the cat is the monster. The figures are depicted as living together as a family in a cave and include Gryla, who is a giantress with an appetite for the flesh of mischievous children, who she cooks in a large pot. Here's another lady that's cooking kids in a pot. Her husband, Lipaldi, is lazy and mostly stays at home in their cave. Well, that's a shit. The Yule Cat is a huge and vicious cat who lurks about the snowy countryside during Christmas time and eats people who have not received any new clothes to wear before Christmas. I need to tell my kids that while I'm giving their presents because they're all clothes. Right. The Yule lads are the sons of Gryla and Lapalaldi, or whatever his name is. Sure. They are a group of 13 mischievous pranksters who steal from steal from, or harass the population, and all have descriptive names that convey their favorite way of harassing. Kind of sounds like the Seven Dwarfs. They come to town one by one during the last 13 nights before Christmas. So it sounds also like Elf on the Shelf, but with 13 of them. They leave small gifts and shoes that children have placed on windowsills, but if the child has been disobedient, they instead leave a potato in the shoe. Sorry.
I'd eat it.
Can you imagine getting a potato in your shoe? Which, can you imagine leaving your shoe anywhere? Like, hey, I need a gift, put it in my shoe? Especially when back then you only had like one shoe. Ew, I don't want my gift in there.
Well, I mean, your gift might have been soap. So
right? They'd be like, oh, thank God, I can take the soap and clean my shoe. These Christmas-related folk tales first appear around the 17th century and display some variation based on region and age. In modern times, these characters have taken on a slightly more benevolent role. Ooh. The first mention of the Yule Lads can be found in the 17th century poem of Gryla. Gryla had appeared in older tales as a troll, but had not been linked to Christmas before. Gryla is described as a hideous being who is the mother of the gigantic Yule Lads, who are a menace to children. Early on, the number of depiction of Yule Lads varied greatly depending on location, with each individual lad ranging from a mere prankster to a homicidal monster who eats children.
But of course.
They were used to frighten children into good behavior, similar to the boogeyman. The King of Denmark objected to their use as a disciplinary tool. Gryla is originally mentioned as being a giantress. Wait, I already said this. Hold on. So that's that. Yeah, I somehow repeated my whole spiel. So this is really quick. Though referred to as an ancient tradition, written accounts of the Yule Cat have only been located as recently as the 19th century. So all these other characters are old, but the Yule Cat's new. They added some shit in there. They're like, well, Gryla's not scary enough. The Yule Lads aren't scary. Let's add a child-eating Yule Cat in there. The threat of being eaten by the Yule Cat was used by farmers as an incentive for their workers to finish processing the autumn wool before Christmas. The ones who took part in the work would be rewarded with new clothes, but those who did not would get nothing and thus would be preyed upon by the Yule Cat.
Monstrous Yule
You
Cat.
are in for a treat now with the zombie. Are you ready, Moni?
I'm ready. I don't know who the fuck decided at 3:00 in the afternoon to start vacuuming outside my door while I'm trying to record, but yes, I'm ready.
It's probably not the kids.
No, I think not. Maybe the dogs. Hans Trapp in France. According to Alsatian lore, Hans Trapp was a local man renowned for his greed and unscrupulousness. He used witchcraft and deals with the devil to become rich. When the Vatican heard of Trapp's cruelty and occultism, they probably wanted his riches, he was arrested and brought before the Pope. He was excommunicated for Satanism and demonolatry, and upon returning back home to France, he discovered that his land and property were confiscated. This is every word that is hard, and I'm glad to be so bright. Were confiscated from him, and he was left without a single penny. I told you they just wanted his riches. The villagers of his hometown shunned and banished him to the woods in nearby Germany. He took to roaming the countryside, disguised as a giant scarecrow. Enraged and full of scorn for those who took everything away from him, he devoted himself more and more to his dark sorcery. All he could think about was taking revenge on the villagers who exiled him. His hermitage in the woods made him go insane, and soon he found himself craving the taste of human flesh. He became obsessed with the idea of cannibalism, and so he came up with a plan. He would disguise himself as a scarecrow, wearing raggedy clothing and stuffing it with straw and sticks, and would wait in the fields for his prey to come by. This is some Jeepers Creepers shit right here. One day, a very young shepherd boy came strolling through the field. Taking a sharpened stick, Hans Trapp, which Trapp is a great last name for someone who's going to trap you, and thrust a stick into the child and killed him, dragging his corpse back to the house, where he butchered the child into pieces and roasted him over a fire.
This is actually a Christmas tradition, by the way. This is
Roasting
the
children is a
story.
Christmas tradition.
This is the story behind it. Can you believe it?
Shoot. Just as he was about to take the first bite of flesh he had craved so much, it's said that God struck him with lightning. I doubt that happened because Edmund Kemper existed.
Right.
Falling down, he hit his head and died. Parents of the northeastern region of France warn their children that every Christmas, Hans Trapp's spirit will come back dressed as a scarecrow with a hood to enact his revenge by abducting naughty children into the forest where they will never be heard from again.
So here's the craziest part about this story. It's based on a true person. So keep reading.
Usually these have some basis in truth.
This one's actually real, yes.
Nice. Like Krampus, Hans Trapp teamed up with St. Nicholas, but to earn redemption, while St. Nicholas awarded presents to the virtuous, Hans Trapp tries to persuade naughty children to mend their ways and be virtuous, unlike him. He doesn't want anybody to go down the same path.
Mm-hmm.
The legend of Hans Trapp seems to originate from real-life Hans von Trotha, who was born in 1450 and died in 1503. Hans von Trotha was a knight who was entrusted with 2 castles in the Palatine territory, which included territories of both France and Germany. He had disputed with an abbot over property possessions in one of the castles that was given, which was supposedly originally the monastery's possessions, and the abbot refused to give them up. So Hans von Trotha created a dam which stopped the water supply of the village below. The abbot complained and he finally tore down the dam, which flooded the village, and caused massive economic damage. Hans von Trotha began attacking the abbot, and when the emperor couldn't persuade Hans von Trotha to stop, the abbot went to the Vatican. The Pope summoned Hans von Trotha to be questioned about his loyalty to the church. He declined to the visit, instead writing a letter accusing the Pope of immorality. Yikes. In response, he was excommunicated and had an imperial ban upon him by the emperor shortly after his excommunication. He died 2 years later of natural causes, or he snuck into the woods and still is out there somewhere as a scarecrow.
Do you see the doll they set up? We try when we're doing some of this stuff just for the readers to insert pictures so there can be kind of like added additional stuff to the story, even though you guys don't see it. And so people put these dolls out that look like scarecrows as Hans Trapp. And it reminds me of like a haunted doll island or something. So probably when you're visiting like parts of France during Christmas, you might come upon these dolls basically on sticks that look like they've seen better days and have like crazy tape and dirt and shit all over them and to me to look like Hans Trapp. And it's kind of scary because I hate fucking dolls. Like I'd rather come upon a goblin than a doll. So yeah, those things scare me.
True.
Yardley, I apologize at what you're going to have to pronounce in this story, but the story is so good that I couldn't pass it up.
All right. We're going to talk about the Kali-Kantzaroi in Greece, Bulgaria, Serbia, and Turkey. The Kali-Kantzaroi are goblins who spend most of the year underground trying to bring about the apocalypse. During Advent, they come out into human territory to cause mischief and evil. They are sometimes described as black furry creatures with tusks and horns. They're usually male and grotesquely well endowed.
Sorry. I didn't include any of the pictures, but there are several pictures with these tiny little goblins with giant dicks. I am not kidding you. And I got the biggest chuckle out of it, but I was like, they weren't good pictures. I wanted to see good pictures of goblins. And these were just like, it looked like a kid scrawled on them. It looked like a cave drawing. And I was just like, no, I can't include that. That doesn't even give, but with a giant penis. So yes, that is how they were kind of created.
So it is believed that the Kali-Kantzaroi stay underground, sawing the world tree so that it will collapse along with the earth. However, according to folklore, when they are about to see the final part, Christmas dawns and they are able to come to the surface. They forget the tree and come to bring trouble to mortals. Finally, on the Epiphany, on the 6th of January, the sun starts moving again, and they must return underground to continue their sawing. They see that during their absence, the world tree has healed itself, so they must start working all over again. This is believed to occur annually. According to folklore, there were many ways people could protect themselves during the days when the Kali Kanseroi were loose. One such method was to leave a colander on the doorstep to trick the visiting Kali Kanseros.
So basically, when you hear this story, you're going to realize how stupid these goblins are, because I was laughing my ass off when I was reading it.
It was believed that since it could not count above 2, 3 was believed to be a holy number, and by pronouncing it, the Kali Kanseros would supposedly kill itself. The Kali Kanseros would sit at the doorstep all night, counting each hole of the colander until the sun rose, and it was forced to hide. Another supposed method of protection was to leave the fire burning in the fireplace all night so they could not enter through it. In some areas, people would burn the Yule log for the duration of the 12 days. In other areas, people would throw the foul-smelling shoes into the fire, as the stench was believed to repel the Kali Kanseroi and thus force them to stay away.
So colanders and dirty shoes will keep them away.
Additional ways to keep them away included marking one's door with a black cross on Christmas Eve and burning incense. According to legend, any child born during the 12 days of Christmas was in danger of transforming into a Kali Kanseros during each Christmas season, starting with adulthood. It was believed that the antidote to prevent this transformation was to bind the baby in tresses of garlic or straw, or to singe the child's toenails. According to another legend, anyone born on a Saturday could see and talk with the Kali Kanseroi. Now, this old drawing that you've got in the show notes of this thing, especially like by the, it looks just like a hairy person with like bat ears wearing some Paul Frank underwear.
Yep.
Running around with.
You did not just say Paul Frank, but he also has a tail, so we have to go with that too. But yes, these guys crack me up. Like, there are so many. So that's like one of the first drawings of them. But then like the ones I started with, like you can tell like through the years, like how these trolly, whatever they are, goblins have been interpreted. But they, to this day, today, they still believe in these creatures, and especially in Greece. And yeah, so I find it hysterical that you can combat them by making them count. So I think we're all safe in the world if we just make sure they count. So.
But what is that? Like in the picture, is it like pissing?
Which one? Which picture?
Like the one at the end, the one that I was describing with the Paul Frank underwear on.
You know what? I never noticed that until you just said it. It looks like he's peeing. It does look like he's peeing. I would assume that's what it is. I don't know. It's in Greek.
Well, that just makes it even more horrible, is basically what
he just put and he's running and he's smiling and his underwear is made of eyeballs and he's peeing.
Yeah, no, he's peeing.
Yeah, and then he has hooves as feet. It's just the craziest fucking picture. So I had to add it in at the end because I'm like,
he's got dad bod going for him.
He's a total dad bod. Yes.
That's the face that he's making while he's peeing on his own feet, apparently.
Yeah, and running with his eyeball panties on. So yeah, he has like red underwear, like red, what do you call those underwears for men that are like tight, not boxer briefs. So he's got red boxer briefs on with eyeballs all over them. Yeah, so interesting. And this was before boxer briefs were invented. So riddle me that. I think we know where they got them from, except they were like minus the eyeballs, but yes, boxer briefs. Okay, so now we're going to talk about a holiday tradition in France, Belgium, and Switzerland. And it's a man, and this is the other blackface guy. And listen, to this guy's defense, he isn't supposed to be black. He's supposed to be dirty. But the people in these countries paint their entire faces dirty. So it looks like blackface. Don't do that. Like, just give him a little, like he walked through a chimney. Not that his entire face is black. How about that?
A little cute soot is fine.
Right.
Like,
cute little. I've been working. I'm in the garden and I got dirt on my face, but we don't need the entire face. I had to only show this picture. I could not find another picture that wasn't in blackface. So let me just give you that as a tidbit. So Pierre Froutard in French, Belgium, and Switzerland. Le Pierre Froutard, or Father Whipper or Old Man Whipper, is a French Belgium Christmas boogeyman with one foot in history and the other in the pagan past. Like Krampus and the other Perchen, he is linked to the purifying, punishing aspect of whipping, hence his name, Father Whipper. Dressed in dark robes with a sooty face and unkempt hair and a beard, children can hear him coming from the sound of the slapping of his whip. Really? I mean, that's like every night for me. Oh, I'm just kidding. Le Pierre does not work alone. He also follows St. Nicholas from house to house, acting as his punisher, dispensing coal and beatings to the naughty. That sounds fun. Anyway, his original... Hey, I am not here to judge anybody's kink. If that's what your kink is, then by all means, y'all. Not the blackface, but the whipping and everything else and the coal. His original pagan context is lost. So instead, he is given a shape by various more historical legends and events. The most popular story of Le Pierre Froutard dates from around 1150. In this tale, Le Pierre was either an innkeeper or a butcher with particularly evil habits. One day, he and his wife captured 3 boys on their way to a religious boarding school. They robbed the boys of their money and they disposed of them most gruesomely, slitting their throats, cutting them up, and stewing them. So here's the thing, like, if somebody is that big of a legend, I kind of think maybe that pieces of this has actually happened. Like, I think we're not the only people that create atrocious acts. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, some of this, I think, is, like, derived from reality, just like the other dude. Like,
yeah. Usually these types of stories have an origin somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's possible that 3 boys disappeared, and it's possible that they were found or whatever. But, yeah, I just think that, like, okay, well, if you're going to create an actual legend, something like that happened somewhere. Yeah. Anyway, St. Nicholas heard of the crime. Now, this part I don't believe. Come on. And resurrected the children. On seeing this miracle, the evil innkeeper repented. He either volunteered to help St. Nicholas as penance or else was forced by the saint to assist him every Christmas, punishing the bad while the saint rewarded the good. Other, more historically verifiable events explain Le Pierre's dirty face. In 1552, the northeastern French city of Metz was under siege by forces of Charles V, the Spanish king and Holy Roman Emperor. The anger of the citizens led them to make a likeness of the emperor and drag it through the city streets and burn it. At the same time, the tanners of Metz had created a grotesque character who punishes children. The 2 separate effigies somehow married themselves together in the popular mind and became incorporated into the role of Le Pierre Froutard. And that is, there are many more, but those are the main terrifying Christmas traditions around the world.
Nice. And I think, too, I mean, being many more, you're going to start seeing so many similarities, you know, from whichever cultures borrowed from other ones, the similar stories.
Yes. Agreed.
Yes.
I agree with you. So with
Captain Smarty Pants.
Not at all. Well, you are a smarty pants, but in a good way, not a negative. Well, smarty pants. No, you are smarty and you wear pants.
Yeah, I wear the pants.
That's right. I do too. Yardley, what have you been watching lately? We're going to take this show and twist it and turn it and let them listen or hear some really good movie and TV show recommendations.
Yeah, just a couple of things. They're both on Netflix. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. is a movie that takes place in 1927 in Chicago. It's a story about the tensions between Ma Rainey, her band, an ambitious horn player, along with a management that's determined to control the uncontrollable, the mother of blues. It's based off of a Pulitzer Prize-winning August Wilson play, and it's the last movie that Chadwick Boseman made before his passing. And yeah, it's pretty good. It dropped on Friday. So it's kind of a mix of some of the inner turmoil that goes on with the band, the management, but also in those years when a lot of things were transitioning from artists that always toured and always went to local bars to transitioning into like records. So part of the conflict is her managers are trying to get her to record her voice for them to sell records. And from Ma Rainey's perspective, it's basically, you know, hey, once you get my voice on the record, you're not going to need me no more. I'm not going to be able to work and, you know, be with the people. So there's that conflict, but also her horn player, who was played by Chadwick Boseman, has ambitions of his own to start doing his thing a little bit more, and is kind of interfering with the traditional way that Ma Rainey has been doing things like around the Chitlin circuit in the South. He kind of wants to transition into doing like a little bit more modern, upbeat, to kind of segue into some of these blues songs. So it's that going on, and then you have like industry stuff, but all from the perspective of the 20s, and it's very interesting. I mean, Viola Davis plays Ma Rainey.
Love her.
You won't, yeah, and I mean, you know, she really gets into character. You might not even, you know, recognize who she is, but it's a great movie, great performances. The last kind of monologue that Chadwick Boseman does in the movie, it's gonna hit you because like it's so relatable. It's pretty. It's one. It's gonna get you. But it's well done. It's on Netflix, and also to kind of lighten up some things, there is a Netflix series. It's called We Are the Champion, and We Are the Champions. And the part, you know, a lot of people know, you know, I grow peppers and stuff, but they have one of their episodes is based around, you know, eating hot peppers. So basically, the guy who created, I think it was the Carolina Reaper? I believe that was the pepper he created.
Probably.
So it's like it's 10 peppers, right? And the guy who created the Carolina Reaper made 10 other peppers, but all of those peppers are they're all, you know, hybrids. So it's basically a Carolina Reaper is like the base for these new peppers. And in most tournaments, the Carolina Reaper is like the last pepper you eat, you know, before you know, to win the championship. In this one, the minimum heat is a Carolina Reaper. So you start off with a Carolina Reaper and you have 9 after that to go. And all of those other 9 are all hybrids of the Carolina Reaper. So it's ridiculous. Just watching these people almost have strokes and puke all over themselves. But
I can't even
believe
imagine.
it or not, somebody won it. So so it's pretty impressive. But they have other things about this. There's an annual tradition somewhere in Europe where they roll cheese down a hill and people get hurt trying to, you know, be the last one down the hill to get it. So it's things like that. So I would definitely recommend watching that as well. It'll make you laugh if nothing else.
Nice. Actually sounds like something my husband would definitely like to watch. So
does sound good. That always fascinates me how people do that, because I like hot stuff, but I still like to taste. So I'm not like y'all. I'm not like hardcore with it.
But even in this, everybody has to eat 2 of the peppers. So it's not just one. You have to eat 2 and you have to completely eat it and swallow it. And that's what makes it worse, because you have these ridiculously hot peppers with a base of Carolina Reaper, and you've got to eat 2. And they're not small. They're like, I don't know. They're like, some of them look like they're golf ball, you know, size peppers. So it's pretty brutal. I mean, you're gonna feel for these. You're gonna feel for these people.
Wow.
Oh, and basically everybody who's doing it were like champions everywhere else. So they're not scrubs. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the best.
They didn't just sign up on a whim and be like, I think I'm going to eat me a pepper today. It's like hardcore.
it just appears to be dangerous. I mean, it's. I'm with you, Chrissy. I mean, I can take some heat, but this is just like really uncontrollable why you do this, because you're not going to be able to puke it up. That heat's still going to be there. Like you can't.
Because those oils don't just leave. Yes, I know. And then when you puke them, then they're in your nose and your throat.
Yeah, and then you're doing doubles. It's crazy. Enjoy yourself.
No, thank you. I don't want to like inflict pain on myself like that. But speaking of inflicting pain, I like to inflict my pain on a different way by watching horror and really fucked up movies.
Yeah.
So people that eat peppers are like, okay, you should talk. You like to eat Reaper peppers in your brain. I'm just kidding. I'm weird today. I know, but I can't help it.
She's in a mood, y'all. She's just,
I am. Can't help it. Anyway, Bonnie, what you got?
I got, the Creep Show Holiday Special, which is available either on AMC or Shudder.
And you have to talk about your article that you wrote, which I didn't even know this show existed until I read your article, and I was so excited after I read your article, I had to immediately watch the Creep Show Holiday Special, and I loved it.
It's so fun.
It is.
Go ahead.
No, it is. You're right. It was wonderful.
I ended up watching it again so what she's referring to, y'all, is I am now contributing to the website. It's Australian-based nerd website, Soda and Telepaths. And we get advanced horror movies, advanced TV shows, and a lot of advanced comic books to basically call dibs on and review at our leisure. So Creep Show was the first assignment that I had, and I was able to write my thoughts about it. So check out Soda and Telepaths. They're good folks if you guys get a chance. They also have a podcast and a YouTube channel under the same name. But the Creep Show Holiday Special, as Chrissy mentioned, super, super fun. It's Adam Polly and Anna, I forget her name.
Okay.
The gal. Oh, go ahead.
I never thought she was attractive until I saw her in this show. Am I crazy? Like
it's the whole, she was sex kitten and pun intended.
Literally, yes.
Yeah. So this chick is from Pitch Perfect.
Yeah.
The blonde one, and you'll recognize her voice and everything, but she is a literal were-cheetah.
Yeah.
And so she starts off hardcore flirting with Adam Polly's character because she's like attracted to the fact that he's a werewolf. And she's dressed all in like tight clothing and
like leopard print. She just looks really cute. Yeah, she looks good. I was like, oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
First time I've been attracted to you. Yeah. Maybe it's the pandemic, or maybe she just looks really hot. I don't know.
Right. We're all just horny in the pandemic and everything's starting to look good about now. But it's super weird. It's super funny. It's gory. I highly recommend. It's only like 45 minutes. You'll enjoy it. And even if not, you didn't waste too much time. So check out the Creep Show Holiday Special.
Can I tell a really funny story really quick?
Sure.
So I've been trying to get my son to watch Creep Show because I think it's up his alley. And I didn't know that the holiday special was just one show. Like I thought like normal Creep Show, it had like one, or two or three other stories. And I wasn't really paying much attention. So I played that one and I loved it. And so then I paused at the end of that one before it officially ended and thought there was more. And I was like, Jay, I finished this one, but they're about to go on another story. Do you want to watch with me? And he's like, yeah. And he's grounded from everything. So he's basically like, I have nothing else to fucking do. So he comes in, gets settled. I'm in my bed. He gets in bed next to me and he gets all cuddled. I play and the credits start rolling. The credits start rolling and he's like, It's just like, oh my God, this is just one episode.
Yep.
I felt so bad. I was like, I'm so sorry. Apparently, this is just one. It's just like, okay. I'm like, well, do you want me to rewind it and I'll watch it again? He's like, that's okay. Damn it. I had him. So close. Anyway, I laughed my ass off at myself because when I paused it, I didn't even look to see like how much time was. I just paused it and went on.
Made you look, kid.
Yeah.
You thought you were ungrounded.
He was all settled, like ready, cozy, ready to watch a show. And then We play it and the credits start rolling.
Nice.
God, it was
Classic
funny.
mom.
Anyway, yeah, total mom goof. But anyway, I laughed so hard. I probably laughed like he left, and I was still laughing because I just thought it was so funny.
Laugh your ass right
I
off
need
and
good
laughed at
laughs, okay? I don't have a lot going on. Let me be
Right.
good. Anyway, keep going.
Agreed. I'm watching on HBO Heaven's Gate, The Cult of Cults. I think it's only like 3 or 4 episodes. I've watched 1 or 2. It's pretty good. Just as creepy as you would imagine. That's the one where they tried to get the Hale-Bopp comet and they took the poisoned Kool-Aid and yeah. So
wearing their Nikes and their black jogging suits. Yeah.
Yeah. And then these are not new to me or to you, but I did my Christmas, my holiday traditions of watching Anna and the Apocalypse.
I love that movie.
That one's really good. And then Black Christmas, not the 2008 version, not the 2020 version, but the 1974 version.
The year I was born. The best year ever.
The best year ever. It's still, I enjoy it. My husband thinks it takes too long to pay off, which there's a lot of setup, but I think it's still creepy. And I like the hot co-eds. So there's that. And then the 2008 one, we talked about it last year. I don't hate that one either, actually. And I think it deserves a higher rating than it has. And it apparently has a sequel, but I can't find it to watch. So there's a direct sequel to the 2008 one. And then the 2020 or 2019 one is Bloomhouse. And it's done from like it's PG fucking 13.
We reviewed that one, right? Yeah, we did. We did.
The Christmas one, the Black Christmas?
Yeah.
Ugh.
That was pretty much our reaction then,
it has 3 stars.
It's okay. It wasn't, it is what it is.
PG-13 Black Christmas. Like, why?
I know.
Why do you do that? And Bloomhouse, man, as we've had this conversation before too, they used to be so good, and now it's like they're just licensing that name to whatever shit.
Apparently, yeah. They're like, oh, hey, they're on the corner, and you get a horror, and you get a horror, and you get a horror movie. Everybody gets a horror movie. Yeah, a horror movie.
On that note, are these like this train back on the track?
I've actually watched some really good movies lately by accident. It wasn't like I set out. I mean, we always set out to watch really good movies, but we never know what we're going to get. I avoided this movie for a while because I was reading some of the reviews and it turned me off. But then I just decided to say, fuck it. And I watched it. Run on Hulu. It's got Sarah Paulson in it, and it has a 6.7. A whole homeschooled teenager begins to suspect her mother is keeping a dark secret from her. Okay, this description of the movie is so lame. The movie is really fucking good. You have to watch it. Yes. Twists and turns, and you're on the edge of your seat. This poor girl. I'm not even going to go into it. I'm not revealing a fucking thing. Go watch Run. It is so good. And I should just trust that Sarah Paulson knows what the fuck she's doing. So from then on, I have now decided to trust her regardless until I eat those words. So
eat them.
My favorite movie out of this entire bunch was Anything for Jackson on Shudder. It has a 6.5 on IMDb. A bereaved Satanist couple kidnap a pregnant woman so they can use an ancient spell book to put their dead grandson's spirit into her unborn child, but end up summoning more than they are bargained for. Okay, this does not even describe this movie. First of all, the bereaved Satanist couple are the most adorable old people that you would never in a million years think are Satanists. He's a doctor. She's like what you would picture being the greatest grandma of all time. And the whole story is so good and fucked up and weird.
Really strange.
It's good. It is so different and so strange. I love different shit. And this definitely hit the mark. You have to watch it. Look, if you guys don't have a Shudder, just sign up for a month. It's $5 or $6. You would have paid $20 to see this in a theater. Now, come on, give it. It's worth it. 6.5. I'd give it a 6.5. So yes, something, I don't want to build it up too much, but it was a really good, weird fucking movie.
Nice. I'm going to check it out.
Yes.
Because I'm looking for some good stuff. I just re-upped my Shudder sub. And well, I'm not gonna lie. I just borrowed my friend's Shudder subscription because she's borrowing like my HBO and my Sling, so I figured it was a fair fucking trade.
Hey, we gotta do what we gotta do.
Shudder's great. Thanks, Shudder.
Yes, Shudder's awesome. I do that with my brother. He's in the Navy, and when he's overseas, he takes my subscription, and I let him because he fucking deserves it. So if Shudder wants to shut that down, then they can fuck right off. But anyway. Next one that I watched that I will somewhat recommend. It's not as good as anything for Jackson or Run, but Books of Blood. It's like a trilogy story, very interesting. The stories kind of intertwine. A journey into uncharted and forbidden territory through three tales tangled in space and time. It's on Hulu? Is it on Hulu or is it on Shudder? I say that's on Hulu, but anyway, it's 5.6 IMDb. If it's not on Hulu, it's on Shudder, and I'm sorry. But anyway, interesting and weird and different. It's a 5.6 compared to these others. It's not as good as the others, but good enough. Good enough to watch, definitely. Kept my attention. I thought they were interesting tales and, yeah, unique content. So I'm all for that. The last one is not a horror movie, but I thought it was very interesting because it's about the writer of Frankenstein. It's called Mary Shelley. It's like 3 years old. It's on Hulu. It's a 6.4 on IMDb. Life and facts of Mary Wollstonecraft Goodwin, who at 16 met 21-year-old poet Percy Shelley, resulting in the writing of Frankenstein. So fascinating facts about how and why she wrote Frankenstein, which I actually looked up. Look, whatever personal shit that isn't true in the story, the facts are why she wrote Frankenstein are true in the story. What motivated her to write Frankenstein is true in the story. And it's not because she had a great life. Frankenstein is her perception of men. So I think that really does push you to want to watch this to see what she's gone through some shit. And so, but she came out somewhat happy, although some tragic things later, but that was back in the olden days when people fucking died. So, but she had it was a very interesting way of interpreting relationships in toxic situations. And that's how she came up with Frankenstein. And I think that was so fascinating. And I totally recommend it.
Nice.
So you guys, with that, I am going to air this on Christmas. I'm going to go out of my way to post this on Christmas. Today, I finally posted Moni's episode. It's posted now, Haunted Island. So if you haven't seen that one, The World's Most Haunted Island, go back and check that one out. And then today is Christmas. So I would love to wish you guys a Merry Christmas. All of us would. And to thank you guys for sticking through all this bullshit and continually supporting us. We are getting more and more followers every day. We're very thankful. And with that, Yardley, would you like to give us your social media credits?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at militant_marker. I like to co-sign everything that Christy said. Appreciate everybody hanging in there. And we hope to bring even more content in an even better way going into 2021. So everybody take care of yourselves.
Awesome. Thank you. And Moni?
I am Moni Bear across the board, and I'm not going to get big into the spiel, but thank you again to everyone who supported the Creators Assemble Holiday Heroes project. We will be delivering to the kids tomorrow, so before Christmas. And we have printed and framed, and we're going to be posting some videos to the Creators Assemble pages about that. So thank you again. We'll be beginning the project all over again in the new year because that's how successful it's been. So really, really appreciate all the support. And you can find me, I think I mentioned this already, at Moni Bear across the board. Have a safe and healthy, happy holiday. Let's hope to a much better new year, and cheers, y'all.
Absolutely. You can find me at Creepin' It Christy on Instagram and creepin_it on Twitter. Creepin' It Real does have a TikTok page somewhat. I have a lot to catch up on there. But we try. And then, yes, if you want to see butthole faces, join us on Facebook. And with that, again, you guys, whatever you're doing, be careful, be safe. We love you. And thank you guys so much for the support. We will catch you on the flip side.